Thanks guys for attending the online workshop on hip mobility. And in particular, this one was on glute max activation. This is something that so many people have problems with, have issues trying to turn on their glutes, especially runners where, right, if we can turn our glutes on, not only will we be a better runner and be able to every step have more force and more power generated, but also help keep injuries away. And I think a lot of you during the workshop noticed that, hey, once we did these exercises, you felt less of this knee tweakiness or knee pain or even hip pain or just tightness in the front of the hips, and that's a huge reason why we can't turn our glutes on, and why we have issues with it is because the front of the hips here, the rectus femoris muscle, the psoas, the TFL, all the hip flexors and the quads are just super tight, super scarred down, and just not able to move. And for instance, and we're going to use this as our test retest throughout the entire throughout the exercises here, is laying on our back and we're doing a glute bridge. So we're here, arms across my chest, and we're bridging up, back down, and trying to get as high as we can. Many people, if this is tight, I'm like, oh, I can't get up. If we're stuck here, you can do glute bridges all day, but you're not going to get that change of that glute max activation and strength changes and gains if we can't get all the way up. So that's a huge thing we're going to focus on during this workshop is, hey, making sure that our hips are loose enough to where we can get all the way up on our glute bridge, which is going to help us, when we're running, get our leg behind us. We can't do this, right? If I'm not unable to get my leg behind me, if I can only get here, then we're going to be more likely to overstep and overstride, which might cause some more knee issues and cause a lot more things like overpronation or a knee caving in or a hip drop down the road that I'm sure we'd all love to avoid. So let's get right to it, guys. The first one I want to do is we're using the lacrosse ball, or I have called a supernova ball here, to release the front of the hips. So what we're going to do, we're going to get the tendon of the psoas here. So I'm going to lay in my stomach, and to find this area, we're going to find our hip bone, place the ball right on the hip bone. We're going to go down an inch, and then we're going to lay right on it. So I'm going to do my, no, we'll stay here. Let me move one thing out of the way here. I don't want to roll over my receiver. I'm going to do my right side. So I'm going to place the ball right here, go down an inch. I'm going to lay right over top of it, back up, stay in the camera. So again, we're here, bam, I'm on that bone. I went down an inch, and the goal is just trying to find something that's tender. This is called informed freestyling. So I'm just moving around, trying to find something that jumps out at me. I'm like, where is it? Where can I find it? And I'm like, oh, yeah, right there. That's the spot. So anytime something is tender, not necessarily painful, but wow, this is really tender, that's a sign that we have to spend some time here and we have to give it some attention. And the great example that I wanna give you guys is, well, first of all, do this for 2 minutes while I'm talking. Just say, hey, roll around, find that spot. If you poke on your biceps and you feel, like I feel nothing if I were to dig in here, right, that's basically saying, hey, I don't have to spend any time on my biceps. But if I'm here and I'm like, wow, this is tender, this is another sign that I have to actually spend time here. So if you don't feel anything, I would encourage you, hey, try and continue to find spots, or B, you might just not be tender here, and that's actually a good thing. So guys, 2 minutes on this one. All we're doing, and we're just moving side to side, breaking up that area. The second one I want to do is, that was the psoas tendon. And if you went over to the side a little bit, you could have hit some of this TFL, which becomes the IT band. But now what we're going to do is lay in our stomach and actually hit the muscle belly of the psoas, of the hip flexor. So now instead of having the ball below it, we're actually going to find that hip bone plus and then find your hip bone and your belly button. So you're going to have the ball between the two, right? So kind of this, you can place it right on your belly button and then kind of go halfway to that hip bone, so this diagonal here. And again, you don't have to be perfect. We have to be pretty, so we're going to be moving around a lot, but you have to at least be in the general area. So again, put it on your belly button. I would say go over to the side, down a little bit, and you're just moving side to side. Again, get a little more in frame here. And we're just trying to find anything that's tender, that jumps out at us. And this is a huge spot. That's, for me, it's always tender. So this is letting me know, hey, I have to spend some more time. A, spend more time here, and B, strength training might be in my future for this hip flexor. But this is a challenging one, guys, because this muscle, this area gets very, very, it's difficult for a lot of people to get this one because it is deep to your intestines, right? We have our 4 abdominal muscles. then it's the intestines, and then it's the psoas. So it's very, very difficult for a lot of people to relax on this. Like having a lacrosse ball and just relaxing into it first. If you're like, wow, this feels like a weird visceral feeling, because it's a weird visceral feeling and it's your intestines. So please relax with this one. If you can't do it, by all means, relax, try again later. But I would say, hey, just relaxing on down and just relax into it. Give it 30 seconds and then try and move side to side. And the gold standard is, hey, 2 minutes, whether it's a stretch, mobilization, whatever you're doing, 2 minutes is what I want you guys to shoot for. And again, just move it around. Say, oop, move up a little bit. Hey, I don't feel as much down here. Hey, move back down, find another spot. So again, 2 minutes is that gold standard. All right. So those are two for that psoas complex. So this is our big hip flexor that it actually attaches from the low back to the hip. The other two we're going to do is focusing on this rectus femoris muscle here in the front that has huge implications on our ability to, activate that glute. So now what I want you guys to do is do a couple glute bridges. Just see how it feels. So we're going to come back here, laying on our backs. Feet together, arms crossed our chest, no cheating here, and bridge up and back down. And just go as high as you can. See if it feels any easier. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Most people say, hey, it felt a lot looser, and I'm like, hey, that is fantastic. That means we did something. The next one we're going to do is using the lacrosse ball to break up some of this quad and rectus femoris. And again, in formed freestyling, we can move in all different directions and still have a very, very good effect here. So feel free to start at the knee, start at the hip, wherever you want to start. Completely up to you, but if it's tender, we have to spend some time on it. So what we're going to do, we're going to lay on our stomachs, place the ball. I'm going to say place it right in the middle here, nothing crazy. But you can go all the way up here, close to where we were before. You can actually combine this if you wanted to. But I'm here, and I'm just moving my leg side to side. I don't feel much here, but you might feel it jumping over a muscle. That is normal. But if it's tender when it jumps over, or if it feels really ropey, that is a sign that we definitely have to spend some more time here. And what we're doing is applying a principle called a transverse friction massage, where the fibers here, they're parallel, right? My quad muscles, this rectus femoris muscle, they run generally in this direction. And if we go side to side, what we're able to do is not only attack, it's much more efficient at breaking up adhesions, scar tissue in the muscle, but also the fascial lines and fascial system that allow our muscles to pull and function properly. I see a couple patients that have Ehlers-Danlos, which is a connective tissue issue, and their fascial system is all sorts of whacked up or messed up, and it really has implications on how their muscles contract. So there's a lot more going on here than just muscles and tendons. And again, feel free to move around, guys. And then, I found a spot. If you take a look at my foot here, what you can do is add in a knee bend. So we're pinning down the muscles, the fascia, the connective tissue, and forcing it to have to move and have to contract, which, wow, I actually feel a good amount here. I'm much more tender on my outside of my knee, which many of you may say, hey, Matt, you got some IT band things going on, which is possible, but there's a lot more than just the IT band here. There's the lateral quad, right? That IT band fans out all over the place, and that fascial system fans out all over the place. So there's a whole host of things going on here. So guys, 2 minutes on that one. Retest your glute bridge. If you want, retest the squat. Just come on up, do a couple squats. I already feel pretty darn good after doing a couple myself. And last but not least, we're gonna do what is probably my favorite. And for this one, I'd recommend grab a pillow, grab a towel, grab something for your knee. Somebody during the workshop actually she fell down during a run and scraped her knee, so she wasn't able to do this one, but this is hands down my favorite mobilization, my favorite exercise, where we're taking this 2-joint hip flexor, really stretching it, so we're hitting the muscles and tendons, right? We are introducing some stretch to that fascial system, and this is the equivalent of brushing your teeth, right? If you've eaten a lot of food, as most of us enjoy eating, right? Especially if it's good food. Or if we eat a lot, so this food, right, gets stuck on our teeth, and we have to floss and brush, and if we don't, unfortunately, we might get a cavity, and then if we get a cavity, we might have to go to the dentist and have some things done, which is equivalent to going to an orthopedist or going to a physical therapist to have, right, we didn't take care of our teeth and now we have this issue. So I want to stress the importance of this stretch and stress the importance of, hey, this is something you can easily do at home, no equipment, we just need literally a wall. And what we're going to do is, there's 3 stages. Stage 1 is knee on the ground and knee against the wall, foot pointed. So we're hanging out here and just squeeze that glute. That's all I want you to do, squeeze the glute. Some people, if you're really stretchy here, like, wow, Matt, this is really intense, this is where I want you to stay, hold it for 2 minutes. Everybody else, if you're like, hey, I can go a little bit farther, stage 2 is bringing that leg up and then squeeze the glute. Like, wow, this is intense. I start to feel it. A lot of people get stuck here and they're unable to get to stage 2. So what I would say is, if this is easy and this is really, really difficult for you, you can be in this halfway home where you're like, I can't get all the way up, and feel free, you can have a chair over here, place your hand on a chair, but you can start to experiment around and see, hey, where do I feel? You don't have to be stage 1 or stage 2, you can be in this halfway home in the middle here. So if we can get here, most people get here and they're like, wow, Matt, this is intense. Squeeze that glute in the back and say, oh my gosh, great stretch in the front here. Stage 3 is here. I'm coming up and squeezing my glute. I should be able to get all the way back here. I'm a little bit tight myself, but I feel a whole host of stretching in the front of my quads. And again, this is this rectus femoris muscle, this entire fascial line in the front. This is why the foot is pointed, because it wraps around the front of the whole leg, and why I want to be up here. Don't banana back, keep that core engaged. And again, the goal is 2 minutes, guys, where, I gotta get out of here. That was tight. 2 minutes, guys, for whether it's a mobilization with a lacrosse ball or any kind of soft tissue ball that you have, or if it's a static hold stretch. I always like to add in that contraction of the muscle to help make it a little more aggressive. But doing these for 10 minutes a day, right? If you noticed, hey, I have a couple of these are tender, focus on those. The ones that weren't as tight or tender, so you can still spend some time on those, but we probably don't have to spend as much time. Again, poke my biceps, don't feel anything, I probably don't have to roll my biceps out. So, and one more thing on lacrosse balls versus foam rollers. Foam rollers are, to me, not making fun of them, but they're kind of like pool toys. It's like the little noodle, whatever the noodles are that we use, right? When the kids play around with them at the pool all the time and whack each other with them. Pool noodles, right? If you roll out a pool noodle, not gonna feel much. And it's a great example of saying the softer the surface we roll on, the less effective it is, up to a point, right? But the crossbow is a great consistency for distance runners where we're able to, or just runners in general, to get a nice hard surface with some compliance, but not a whole lot of give to it. So guys, thank you for joining us. I really do appreciate you. For those that came to the workshop, I really appreciate it. For those of you that are listening to this afterwards because you couldn't come, thank you for listening. I know it's probably around a 10-minute video, making this in between patients, so I wanted to make sure I got all the info in, and I will try to answer and think about all the questions that everybody had for me during the workshop. So guys, I really appreciate it, and also thank you to Lauren for putting on for allowing me to put this on. I really do appreciate it again, Lauren. And so again, guys, if you do these exercises for 10 minutes a day for the next week, 2 weeks, you're going to see some fantastic changes in your mobility and how you're moving. But if you're ready to take that next step, right, and say, hey, maybe you have something going on, it's been going on for a while, maybe you've seen other practitioners for it and it just hasn't gotten better or hasn't gotten the change you wanted, guys, I'm going to give you a special offer of half off an eval with me for putting up with me for the last, I don't know, 10, 15-ish minutes. I really do appreciate it. And guys, that offer is good for a week, so anytime in the next week, please let me know. And if you can reach me at Alpha Project Physio, just if you Google that, it'll pop right up. Again, my business is Alpha Project Physio and Performance. You just Google Alpha Project Physio, it should pop right up. But guys, if you're ready to take that next step, it's like, hey, I do have something going on and I want to invest in my health and wellness. The half off offer is there, so you can figure out if I'm a good fit for you, if you're a good fit for me. But guys, again, thanks again for coming in, for doing the workshop with me. I appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.